is time to do Oval Ye with Van D presented by Oval
Prevented by.
presented by Oval E. All right, well let's talk about it, and we're going to talk a lot about strategy in this segment
Yeah.
here, and just talk about kind of our mindset here in some of these matchups and how we approach the game, because it is different than the way that the Fantasy Ruckers platform is set up in terms of your traditional fantasy sense. And this, again, we've mentioned it before on our show, is a lot more tailored towards our weekly challenge and kind of fits that. But again, there's a whole nother layer of that with the NFTs, the trading cards that you can get, all that, looking at matchups, the way that things are scored. So again, a whole different element to it. And we want to break it down for you here and make sure that you understand the strategies that we're thinking that will give you that edge to hopefully finish high in those leaderboards to get you guys selves some good rewards. So let's look ahead here. We just talked about the matchups that are coming up here this week. What are you looking here in terms of lineups? What kind of players in your roster that you have, from your limited lineups to even the free to play, kind of catch your eye here heading into the last week of MLR's regular season?
I mean, look, I'm feeling really
This
good
one will
about.
kind of be tough until you really know.
Yeah,
This will be
that's
tough until
that.
you really know who's
Yeah,
kind of in the starting lineups.
exactly. That was all the staples that I think Washington did after this. If you
this weekend that you will probably want to interject. And don't get scared away by those overly scores. Sometimes it might be scary, but sometimes matchup matters. And if you have a solid matchup, you may want to go with it.
With free to play, I take a completely different approach. Like, I think free to play, like, there are guys, Semi Kunitani is going to be in the lineup, right? Like, Semi Kunitani is a guy that you start. Quatrin, going to be in the lineup, a guy that you potentially start, right? Like, I think that with the limited, you almost should still go with the staples. You aren't as constricted to try to pick up those guys that are filling in those roster spots or being filled into the lineup. Like, go with the guys that are big names out of the East and out of some of those bottom teams where you just know that they're going to be starting regardless.
Well, I guess
because they got this last game to play for.
That's the caveat, though, from the East, right? Like, guys that are in the West that were on your lineup each and every week, you may not want to play those guys. Like AJ Alatimu, he might have been a guy that was in your stable when he's starting. You may play him. I don't know if Sam Tuifu is going to be in the lineup this week for the Dallas Jaguars. They might take a week off. He's a guy that's been a staple in my lineup. So again, big name guys, if they're playing, get them in. But there may be a couple guys there. Either you can find that value, or if he you shift onto another big name guy. You know what I mean? Maybe you had, Tuifua every week in your lineup of that combo of Kunatani and Tuifua, but maybe you shift on over to, another player, maybe Cam Davidovitz of the New England Free Jacks, if he starts, or a Jed Melvin, or a Fa'anana Schultz, one of those bigger name guys that will be playing for something. You might just have to pivot there. Is there any particular player this week from those Eastern Conference matchups as we wrap this segment up that you guys are particularly eyeing here that you would like?
I mean, I'd love to have a piece of either a Vanderbank, a Lesage, or a LaRue Milan. I'd love to have that in the East. Yeah. If you've got a Wayne, you're lucky. If you've got a Lesage, you're lucky. I think depending on who starts, I think they're going to have a big week. We saw Carolina constantly being kind of weak through those center positions. And last week, we saw the way that Billy Meeks went off a little bit. I think that the centers for New England Free Jacks could do the same.
Well, I think you're right about teams even like Anthem wanting to play Y2.
Nice try, buddy.
Yeah. Why? I can't say it right now. Why Tokyo?
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
I guess
guys like him, I think you're pretty confident with him. Still being in the lineup, still good plays. I'm fully expecting to play Joel Hodgson. There's no need. Utah's out; they got nothing to play for. But why would they not play Joel?
If New England, and I've done this strategy before, if New England has a full first team lineup out there this week, I can foresee a lineup outside of maybe having a Semi Kunatani in there that has a full, even without, I could have a full New England lineup here this week. That's how confident I am maybe in coming in this week. You have Quattrin in the front row. You put, whoever's starting at the 8 position there, whether it's Jed Melvin, Ethan Fryer, Cam Davidovitz, any of those guys. You get LaRue Milan or Lesage, Wayne Vanderbank, LaRue Milan even to capitalize, and then you throw in I think Reese McDonald, if he's starting, is a great play as well in this one as too. So really heavily looking at that New England Free Jacks anthem